Hi, in this video I'm going to use DAX, Data Analysis Expression, to create the commission for my sales data here. So as you can see, let's look at the data first. I have two separate queries, one for my sales line items, and in this particular query I have the salesperson ID, and I've just hidden it from report mode, and I have the total sales. I also have salesperson query, and in the salesperson query I have the salesperson again, and I have the commission percent that that salesperson gets. Now I hid the salesperson ID in the sales line item so that when users are creating reports they don't get confused as to which salesperson ID to use, because it would end up being the same regardless of which one you end up using. One last thing I show you before we create our DAX function is that I do have a relationship established between the salesperson ID in both queries. So that's how it knows to get the data, how they connect to each other. And it's critical that you do this ahead of time. Make sure you have the relationship established because DAX is going to call on that relationship. All right, so in my visuals here, I have one visual that has my item numbers and the total sales, and a second visual that has my customers and total sales. And so now I want to create a commission amount and place next to each one so I can see the total commission for each item or the total commission for each customer number. Then I might take this visual up here that is a chart, and I might change it from gross margin by salesperson to commission by salesperson. So we can use one formula to populate all three of these visuals. So let's begin now. I'm going to right mouse click on my sales line items and add a new measure. And I'm going to call this new measure commission. And since it's a measure, I'll put the colon before the equals. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate this commission line by line. And so what I'll do is come in and do a SUMX, which is the aggregation with iteration. That's where it does the summarizes the individual or does the math formula by individual lines and then adds them together. And it asks me what table I want to use. The IntelliSense is helping me out. And I want to get the query or table, same thing in DAX, of the sales line items. And now I'm going to go in and get the field total sales. And I want to multiply that total sales times the commission percent. Very simple, right? So to get the commission percent, if I started typing it, I'm not going to see it because I'm only seeing fields that are in this particular query or other functions. So I need to go and call on the relationship. So I'm going to choose related. So it's going to go and look at all my relationships that are set up, and there's only one relationship out there, and that's to the salesperson query. And it says, now, which field do you want in the salesperson query? And I want to grab the commission percent. And so now my function reads, I want to, on a row by row basis, look at all of the total sales on each line and multiply that times the commission percent for the related salesperson. And the reason why I really need to do this line by line is it's possible I might have different salespeople on an invoice. And in that case, it would get confused down here. The same customer number or customer might have multiple salespeople. So I want to do this on a line by line basis because each salesperson could have a different commission percent. I'm going to click to commit that. And I'm going to now drag that commission percent or commission amount into each of my visuals. So now I can see my total sales and the commission for each line or each item number, and I could see the same for each customer. Now let's go in and let's add commission in up here. So what I'll do is just put commission in. You know what? I might want to leave gross margin in there too. What the heck? So now let me come in and just change the title. So it says gross margin and commission by salesperson. And so that's a pretty cool thing that we can do here. Crossing two different queries to create a single function that will calculate a new field for us. Hope this helps.